Yehudis Mina Bas Masora Marsal Shalav Refuah Shalema.
Amen. שהבדיקה מחר תהיה נקייה, שלא יהיה שום דבר.
Amen. Amen. She should live and be worth 120.
Amen.
Is it healthy? Okay, so we are continuing with Siv Gimel and Alter Rebbe. We mentioned yesterday that in order to be chayiv on a Pesach, a Siyas Pesach, when it comes to something that is Shin Yud Ches Gimel, when it comes to something that is not connected to the ground, so the only Pesach that is considered chayiv as far as Makabeh Patish is concerned is a Pesach that is Asur Lahachnes Ulahoitzi, that is used both out and in. And we continue with Siv Gimel. The Gazru Chacham al Kol Nekev, the Chachamim decreed on any even if it's only for the purpose of bringing in or out, lest the person come to make a hole that he will be chayav for, meaning to say one that is both for in and out. Therefore, Shin Yudalid. Therefore, a noikvin nekev chadash b'chavis sheyazuv b'yayin. You're not allowed to make a hole, a new hole, to allow the wine to come out. You want to open the opening in the wine barrel. So we're going to discuss later about taking off the whole top, where they would kind of plaster a magufa, which was a basically like a cover on it. You don't want to take off the whole cover. You just want to make an opening on the side. So the problem is, even though that opening is only to take out the wine, you're not planning to use it to put any wine back in, nevertheless, BeDerabanan is not allowed. Even if it already has a hole and you just want to make it a bit bigger, nevertheless, it's also BeDerabanan. Just like making a bigger hole to go in and out would be considered Makabeh Patish. You're completing it, you're making it better and bigger and nicer, more perfect, which is what Makabeh Patish is. So now that you're only doing it in one direction, it's still Asam BeDerabanan. Now this is only if your intent was to add. Sorry, you have a knife that you stuck into the barrel before Shabbos. So there's already a hole, but the hole is plugged by the knife. However, the intention was that when you take the knife out, the wine's going to come out. So apparently this is the way they did things in those days. I don't know. It's interesting they didn't come up with any other system for it. But yeah, I see Chaim Chizkiyahu is trying to join the call. My WhatsApp is temporarily disabled, so in case anybody was trying to reach me, I forget how to put it back on my phone, but for now it's not on. Whoever is on the computer, you can mute yourself, and then
sorry, that was me.
Question. Okay. Well, if you have a question, you can unmute yourself. Okay. So the point is, you're allowed to pull it out and put it back in on Shabbos. Now, putting it back in obviously is no problem whatsoever, because what are you doing already? You're not doing anything. Pulling it out is the chiddush. Here's the chiddush. Even though it will be impossible that you will not add to the hole by removing it, because when you remove it for the first time, you are necessarily going to widen that hole. Nevertheless, That's no problem. Because you don't intend to add. Even though this is called a Psik Reisha v'la, who can translate that? Exactly, a definite unintended consequence. Nevertheless. Since even a person who makes a completely new hole on purpose, it's only going to be forbidden by rabbinic law. Since it is only made to take out. Therefore, they were not strict to make it forbidden to add unintentionally. Okay, so what we're seeing here is as follows. What we're seeing here is as follows. There is an opinion that says that in general, a Psik Reisha BeDerabanan is mutter. This is the opinion of no less an authority than Trumas Hadeshin. Trumas Hadeshin is a pretty significant one of the Rishonim, especially in the Ashkenazi tradition. Student of the Maharam of Rothenburg. So he's, pretty high up there in terms of the Rosh was another student, and the Mordechai, and so on and so forth. So very important, one of the later Rishonim. He says Psik Reisha does not apply to any Issa D'Rabbanan. Anything that is Issa D'Rabbanan, if it's not intentional, if you're doing it only in a by the way thing, even if it's a definite unintended consequence, it's permissible. That's his chiddush, and he proves it from various sources. The Magen Avram disagrees with that chiddush. Amen. Siv Gimel, Alter Rebbe, Shin Yudal Siv Gimel. The Magen Avram disagrees with that chiddush, and he points to several cases where we see in the Shulchan Aruch that a person who does a Psik Reisha BeDerabanan is forbidden. I'll just give you 3 examples that he says. He says, for example, we see in Shin Lamed Zayin that you're not allowed to drag a heavy bench on the lawn or on the ground outside, whatever it is. If that's going to cause, definitely it's heavy enough to definitely cause a ridge, like a ditch. Exactly. Even though that's not, I said that ditch. I mean, you're doing it kalach yad. It's not an intended thing. It's malacha shein tzarich l'guf. You have no use for it whatsoever. So really, it should be, and it's a Psik Reisha. You're not doing it on purpose. It's just happening by the way. Nevertheless, it says that it's forbidden. Another example, we're going to see in Shinta Zayin, that if you have your beehive, your beekeeper, you have your beehive, and it's getting hot. The poor bees, nebuch, they're roasting. So you want to cover it with some kind of a leather piece or whatever. You have to leave a little opening, so they should be able to get out if they want to. Otherwise, it's considered sod, that you're trapping the bees. Now, we're going to see there that trapping an animal that is not normally trapped is only Asa D'Rabbanan. So bees are not an animal that is normally trapped. It's not a thing to trap bees. I mean, maybe scientists for scientific experiments. It's not generally a normal thing. So that would be a thing that is only Asa D'Rabbanan. And when you cover this beehive, your intention is not to trap. Your intention is to give them some shade. Nevertheless, it's Aser, unless you leave a hole. So once again, we see Psik Reisha is Aser, even BeDerabanan. And the last proof he brings is from Siman Reisha and Zayin, where it talks about not opening a door in a case where it's definitely going to extinguish a fire that's behind the door. Extinguishing a fire when you don't need a wick, right? When you extinguish a fire, what's the guf? What's the object that you're doing the malacha with? The wick. what's left after the fire of the wick. If you need the wick so that you can light it again, that's tzarech l'gufa. If you have no need for it, it's ain't tzarech l'gufa. Of course, it's aser, but it's not aser d'Rabbanan. Nevertheless, it says you can't close the door if it's going to put it out, even though it's not your intention. Psik Reisha. So the Magen Avraham says it's aser. Psik Reisha BeDerabanan is aser. Nevertheless, here we see that it is allowed. And the reason is, first of all, it's a double d'Rabbanan because it's a Psik Reisha and it's a kala'achar yad. It's not really his intention. It's not usual. It's not the usual way to make an opening. And second of all, very importantly, it's only moisif. He's only adding to the opening. That actually, the word of kala'achar yad you don't even see here in the. You know what? I take it back. I don't remember where I saw that. Let's just delete that from the record. It's only adding. Lo yichmiru boy kolkach lesser af lo hoisif shalei b'meskam. Because it's a Psik Reisha, BeDerabanan, and you're not really doing the whole thing. You're just adding to it, so they were not machmir to forbid it. That's the word. But I do want to point out that it is a good opinion to know about, even though the Magen Avraham rejects it. But the Yalkut Yosef brings many achronim who do accept the Trumas Hadeshen, that a Psik Reisha BeDerabanan is permissible. So we don't hold like it lachatchila, but it's just a good opinion to know about in case you need to, to gather a few different snifim laheter, a few different reasons to be mater. Okay. Oh, actually, while I'm on that topic, I do want to say that the Mishnah Berurah says that a double d'Rabbanan with the Psik Reisha is mutter. Actually, that's what I had to take back. That's why I had to take back what I said about kala'achar yad. Forget about kala'achar yad. Double d'Rabbanan with the Psik Reisha is mutter. The example is, which he himself gives. Give me one moment, please. Oh yeah. Back to the same case of the beehives. If it is so this is not a beehive. This is a large chest. A large chest that has some flies in it. The Ramah says if you have a drawer and there's a fly in the drawer, you shouldn't close the drawer on Shabbos, trapping the fly. But there are No, it was open. Well, when it's open, it's not trapped. Oh. It has a way out. When you close it, it's trapped.
But if it was closed and open, you didn't see a fly.
Now it's open. It's like the light. The light is on or off. It's not there's no in between. It's not like in the cartoons where they go over the cliff and they have a few seconds before they can decide. It's either open or closed. Anyway, so the Kitzer, so the Ramah says Teva Ketana. Only if it's small is it a problem, not if it's big.
Small is the same as
No, nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. The Mishnah Berurah explains, if it's a large box, then it's a double d'Rabbanan.
How do you define the box?
I'll explain to you in a minute. And therefore it's permissible. How do you define large? So Shinta Zayin is the Siman about trapping. So in order to be chayav for trapping Hatayra, you have to trap something to an area where you can easily get it without difficulty. So for example, if you have a backyard and you trap a wild animal in that backyard, to be chayav BeDerabanan, you have to be able to get it with one run. If you have to run back and forth, until you get it, that's only Aseh D'Rabbanan, because it's not really trapped yet. So in order to be chayav BeDerabanan, now I want to point out a fly is not Aseh D'Rabbanan anyway, because it's not something that's normally trapped. But if it would be something that's normally trapped, in order to be chayav deraisa, you would have to get it in such a small space that you could just grab it. You know what I mean? You don't have to work again to get. But if it's in a large enough space that you still have to work to get it, then it would be BeDerabanan. So says the Mishnah Berurah, if it's a large drawer or large box or whatever, so then you can close it, even though you're trapping the fly inside, because it's a double BeDerabanan with a Psik Reisha. Meaning to say your intention is not to catch the fly, you couldn't care less about the fly. Your intention is to close the drawer. And the fly is only BeDerabanan because it's not normally trapped, and it's only BeDerabanan because it's not properly trapped. It's still difficult to catch, so therefore he allows it. So that's a nice heter to know about.
You open a bag of chips, so and find that there's a box inside. You just put like in a zip bag and put it in the garbage, it's not going to spread.
Why do you say that? That's trapping it.
I'm sorry, basically you cannot do it.
Can't do it, no. You can put it in a bag and you can zip it and leave a small opening so that those that want to escape can escape.
And put it in the garbage can, and there's a lid. It doesn't call trapping also.
Well, the bugs can get out through that lid. They can crawl out. If they can. If they can, it's okay. So that's just an interesting thing to know about. A double BeDerabanan with a Psik Reisha the Mishnah Berurah allows. I don't know what the Alter Rebbe says about that, I must say, about a double BeDerabanan with a Psik Reisha. If he allows it or not, I don't know one way or the other, but at least we know the Mishnah Berurah allows it. Okay, now that we thought... If what, sorry?
What was the example you tried to
trapping a fly in a large box when it's not your intention. That's a double BeDerabanan because flies are not normally trapped. It's a large area and it's not your intention. Psik Reisha. So that's what a small box is only one BeDerabanan because it's a fly instead of a creature that is normally trapped. One BeDerabanan with the Psik Reisha is forbidden. That's the halacha we pass.
Is there any time of the catching? Like if you want to escort the cockroach outside, you're going to let him go, so you didn't really trap him, just sort of transported him.
Yeah. Like we were saying before.
You trapped him.
You trapped him and you let him free. And letting him free doesn't undo the trapping. Doesn't undo the trapping. You can't trap him even for a small amount of time. That's the question. Can't
scoop him, right? As long as it's open.
Yeah. If it's open and he could crawl out, yeah. He could jump out, yeah. Like let's say you want to get him into a bucket or something. If he could jump out of that, that's not trapped. If he can't, then it is. So it's a bit it's hard to know exactly.
If he doesn't try to run away, is it problem? Let's say there's a cat, although you're not supposed to pick up a cat and pick it up, it's not trapping, it's your pet or whatever. It's not trapping because you are trying to run away. So maybe the bug doesn't try to run away, just it's comfortable.
Yeah, if it's able to escape, just because it doesn't, that doesn't mean it's trapped.
So trap is only for wild, what's your own animal?
Actually, cats are not fully domestic. Can't really control them. The fact that you own it doesn't make it domestic. It has to be a domestic animal that's not owned is not trapped. There's no trapping, even if you don't own it. And a wild animal that you do own is trapping. For example, a sheep or a goat, all those animals that are domestic, it's not trapping. It has no owner, and it's wandering the streets. The cats are a problem. We're going to see in the end of Shinto, the cats are a problem. They're not really fully controlled. Yeah. Sounds like somebody joined the call. I need you to mute yourself, whoever it is. Let's call him Chaim. Chaim, are you here? Oh, there it is. Perfect. Okay, I don't know what else showing this. Okay. Put yourself on mute, Chaim, if you don't mind, yeah?
I think it's mute, no? You hear me?
I hear you, yeah. But mute yourself, and then if you want to ask a question, then unmute yourself.
Thank you.
Okay? Because otherwise you can hear the background. No problem. Okay. The kids are, we continue and we say, now everything seemed to be fine until now, but now we're going to see it's not so simple. I'm reading the end of Gimel. Shaz, in Alter Rebbe, Shaz ain't a Psik Reisha, Shaz of Negal Yidei Tzah Zusha B'Shabbos, Elam Sheshleis Klum. Im Kenaf Meir Shemoisef Ein Bekach Klum Shedavar Shein Meskaven. V'yesh Cholkim is the Rama. The Rama forbids, and he says that it's not permissible to remove the knife unless you removed it already once while it was still day. Before Shabbos. Otherwise, it's a Psik Reisha. And even though it's only BeDerabanan, and even though it's only an addition, it's not allowed.
Shema, you open a little bit. Right?
Exactly. You'll open it, not Shema, maybe. Excuse me, for sure. You will for sure.
For sure.
Even though it's not your intention. So our Shana the Menach is like the first opinion. When we come up nevertheless, if it's not such a great need, it's good to be strict like the second opinion. Not to take out the knife unless you already took it out once before Shabbos. Moving right along.
Rabbi, if you put in for Shabbat and you moved it and put it back on Shabbat, you don't think maybe when you put it back you can put it deeper a little bit and you open it again?
Here's the thing: once you put it in and out once, any further opening is not a Psik Reisha. It's not for sure. And that's already called a davar she'eina meskaven. When you don't intend to do something, and it may or may not happen, that is permissible even if it happens. Simple example. You want to drag a bench across the backyard, and it's not so heavy. Maybe we'll rip the grass, maybe not. You're allowed. And even if it rips the grass, you don't have to say vidui. You don't have to do tshuva, because that's called a davar she'eina meskaven. Another very simple example. You're walking on the grass. You're walking on the grass. Maybe you're
Smushed.
Maybe you're killing the grass. I mean, if you walk on the grass 1,000 times, you're going to see there's going to be a path there. So evidently, slowly, people are killing the grass. But you don't know if this particular walk is killing or not. And even if you killed, it's not your intention, and it's not for sure, and it's okay. Same thing. Once the knife went in and out once, so if you push it in again, maybe it will add, maybe not. If you pull it out again, same thing. And therefore, it's okay.
And Friday evening, each time I'm going to synagogue, it's 1 hour. I don't mitkaven. I just cross from the fence, not the fence, the sidewalk, and there's a fence here. And then when I cross on the sidewalk,
Light.
the light. So the lo mitkaven. It's okay, Rabbi? Or I have to go in the grass, and this main street is a circle. It's dangerous over there.
I mean, the simple halacha is that you should not, because it's a Psik Reisha, and it's an Issa Reisha, and that's the simple halacha.
One time I tried to go, but it's a circle, and the car is coming. I don't know where to run. You know?
Yeah.
So
I mean, there is a heter from Rav Vosner, Alav Shalom, the grandfather in Bnei Brak, who says that walking and turning on lights is not connected. It's not associated with turning on lights. It's not just it's not an action that is connected to that. It's like an abnormal thing for walking to turn on lights. So it's not, we don't associate the two. Okay, that's a chiddush. And the case that he said that was to a shul where there was only one entrance, and the neighbor made a very powerful sensor. So anybody who went to the shul turned it on. He did it on purpose because he didn't want people, he wanted to make trouble. So that was like a crazy thing. Okay, he came up with a heter. So if you need to, you know what I mean, you can rely on that. But if you have another way, it's better. Yeah. So let's see. Okay. אבל סכן שהוא תאכל בכויסו של עץ מבעויים, אם הוא תקוע קצת בחויזק, נוגו באיסו להציע בשבס. A knife that was stuck into a wooden wall from before Shabbos, if it stuck a little bit strongly, nogo באיסו להציע בשבס, now there's a minute to be strict and not to take it out. Unless it was taken out once before Shabbos. Then it's not for sure going to open it more. If they never removed it, it's impossible that you won't expand the hole since it's a little bit hard, tight. When did they allow it? Because we said before that the main opinion is that it's permissible by a barrel is only there because even if you would make it on purpose, it will only also BeDerabanan. But if you make a hole in the wall, it could be a chiyuv chadas. Notice he says it could be. Why? Because if you make a hole that has no function, that's not a chiyuv chadas. The hole has to have a function. For example, you make a hole to be able to put a nail in to be able to hang a picture. That's a functional hole. And that's a chiyuv chadas. But stam, just a random hole in the middle of the wall, I mean, that's nothing. That's like the kalkal almost. That's like ruining. But nevertheless, sometimes a hole in a wall could be a deraisa. For example, if you made the hole in order to stick in a peg. If a person would do it on purpose, even adding a little bit would be chayev. Therefore, we should be strict not to add, even unintentionally, if it's a Psik Reisha. This is the reason for the minhag. Okay. Nevertheless, Alter Rebbe says, even though the minhag can be explained this way, because we want to be more strict when it comes to a hole in the wall, because it could be a deraisa. Nevertheless, it's not so clear that it should be awesome. Why? Because if now the Alter Rebbe explains why it's not really Asr Min Hadin. Listen carefully to the case the Alter Rebbe builds to explain why it shouldn't be Asr Min Hadin. First of all, he says, it's a malacha shen tzarich legufa. Because you don't need the hole. You're not planning to put a peg in there. Number one. Number two, it's actually mekakal. Because you have no use for it, a hole in the wall is actually destroying the wall. It's not building it. Number two. Number three, it's kalachaya. That's not a normal way to make a hole in the wall with a knife. You want to make a hole in the wall to hang your thing, hammer, drill, something. And it's shaleb miskam. So it's three things plus b'lei miskaman. I wonder maybe this is a source that the Alter Rebbe does not agree with Mishnah Berurah. Because otherwise, why does he say three things? Mishnah Berurah said two things plus b'lei miskaman, even though it's a Psik Reisha. He says it's a malacha she'etzach legufa, That's first of all, because you don't need the hole. It's mekalkel. It's ruining the wall instead of fixing it. And 3, it's kalach hayad. In addition to all that, it's ein maskaven. It's not intentional. It's only a psik. It's not a intention. So, okay, I'm not going to say he's arguing on the Mishnah Berurah. The Mishnah Berurah says 2 is enough. 2 plus psik. I mean, over there it's different. It's a different 2. It's not the same as here, but the concept is the same. I'm not going to say he's arguing because he doesn't specifically say that you need all 3. You understand? He just says, Minadin it's mutter because you have A, B, C plus ein maskaven. Could be even A and B alone would be enough. I don't know. But at least you do see that 3 plus ein maskaven is good enough according to the Rebbe.
Would you not get locked? You have to change the door to back the door. Or is someone the room, bathroom, one.
A child, yes.
Until what age?
What it says in Siman Shin Ches, I think it is that a child who is locked into a room can become dangerously fearful. I guess it means like I have a heart attack. I don't know. His life could become in danger because of his fear. So you're allowed to break the door down to get to him. That's what it says there.
Until what age are you going to be?
I don't know. It depends on the situation. But you see from there that an adult, okay, you're locked in, fine. Hope you have some good reading material in there.
And lunch.
It is makakel. So what? But you're doing it on purpose. You're doing it's not ein maskaven. Not ein maskaven. It's a double derabanan. It's a makakel and it's saying so, and it's soisa shalom manas livnas. Actually, that's one of the same. Soisa shalom manas livnas is makakel. It's actually only one derabanan. Oh, you can't do an issa derabanan for a 9 Shabbos. Sorry.
What about old people?
A goy, you can ask a goy. Shvus to shvus. You can do it through a goy.
Old people, they also can be scared also too.
Yeah, depending on the situation. I mean, even a person who is younger, if he's very nervous, if he's a person who's anxiety,
scary.
Yeah, you have to judge the situation. But if it's a healthy person, you can get a guy to do it, but for you to do it yourself,
giving a straw with the opening to drink.
Mutter mamish?
Yeah, packaging.
Mapis Mursa is because of Tsar. There it's not a makakel. Mapis Mursa is not a makakel. That's just a Pesach that's not lahachnas lahoitzi. That's a Pesach that's just lahoitzi. And b'mokum Tsar that goes rabbanon. So you'll say, well, why? This is also Makom Tsar. So if they were matter that Issa D'Rabbanan Makom Tsar, maybe every Issa D'Rabbanan.
This is by definition of Pesach.
No. Pesach, that's Mechubel Karka, has different definitions than Pesach and something not Mechubel Karka. Mechubel Karka doesn't have to be Asl Hachlas Lahoitzi to be Chai. Anyway, here it's not. You're not creating the Pesach. The Pesach is there already. The door is locked. It's your source at the door. It's not about creating a Pesach.
You're not allowed to fast on Shabbos, correct? If you got locked just before Kiddush, he's not going to come out. He's going to consider his fasting on Shabbos.
Yom Kippur we did.
Oh yes, sir.
Yom Kippur we did, right?
To do an Issa D'Rabbanan, to be able to eat on Shabbos, we don't find such a thing. One D'Rabbanan. Maybe a double D'Rabbanan. It is Tsar, but that's not a klal that you can do Issa D'Rabbanan and Makom Tsar. That's an exception by Mapis Mursa. It's not a klal.
But what about like ripping packages to take out the forks or cups?
According to Alter Rebbe, that's not any malacha at all. Alter Rebbe's definition of kareya is to rip apart things that are connected. not to rip one uniform piece. So like the plastic that covers these things, if you just rip it, you're not doing kareh at all. That's not a malacha at all. The only way you could be chayav for ripping such a thing is if you rip with a measure, in a measured way.
I thought if we were ripping it and plus if they were sealed, it was the Reisha.
Not where it's sealed. I'm not talking about where it's sealed. I'm talking about where it's not sealed. You rip the plastic. Ripping where it's sealed is maybe not a Reisha anyway. That's a whole nother discussion. But there it's maybe yeah, maybe no. But according to Alter Rebbe, if you rip just the plastic itself, it's not any malacha. You're not making a keli because it's just plastic, disposable. It's not ripping in a measured way, which is machatech. And it's not ripping things that are connected to each other, which is kareh. So it's really nothing. Sorry?
Once more, you can send the chat, or the link on the chat.
Yeah. I can. I don't have WhatsApp. I am somewhat handicapped without my WhatsApp. I feel like it. Thank you. So let me send him a link right now, yes. Ask him if he can come to Meyer, by the way. It's not 8. Yeah, ask him if he can come, please. Okay. So I see David has a few questions here. Let me get to them in a moment. Let me just finish the sif. We should not be strict because of the minhag. So the Ikar did not there, says really you should be allowed to take out even a knife from the wall because it's not an Isser Reisha with a Psik Reisha. It's an Isser, it's a 3 times BeDerabanan with a Psik Reisha, which should be mutter, but the minhag is to be strict. So we'll be strict.
I think it's not just going to be a wood wall. If it's not a wood wall.
What does it say wood?
A second sheet of the Kodesh of eights. In the beginning, it's Siman down. The whole concept of the Kodesh of eights.
I mean, simple, because if you, it's not going to work in a stone wall. How are you going to stick a knife into a stone wall? Yeah, but I'm saying it's just not going to work. He doesn't talk about it. It's not going to work in a stone wall. It's not going to work. He gives you an example of something that could happen.
Something else that's stuck in the wall.
What about?
It wouldn't be like a nail. It's like it was on the wall.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So if you don't take it in and out before Shabbos, you cannot take it out now.
Okay.
No?
No, same thing. Same thing. Same thing. He's just giving you an example of something that could happen. That could happen. A knife in a wood wall could happen. A nail in a stone wall? I don't even know if that could happen. The Gashmias, I don't know. Okay. So David is asking as follows. Drywall, yeah, but they didn't have drywall. In those days, it was wood or stone or brick.
We tried to get the Sabbath day at tried to get the knife and the stone wall.
I remember the story. What happened?
The question was if a woman can't marry a prince, and she married someone, should she marry the king?
I don't know the story. In B'chairos?
Yeah.
I have to learn B'chairos. I haven't reached there yet. Give me a few months.
He tried to stick the knife in the stone wall.
I don't know the story. All right. In last night's class, you say that you're allowed to spit on the floor and put sand on it, but you're not allowed to smooth it over. According to this, if you spit during a lane on Shabbos, let's say on a tile marble floor, and then you smooth it over with your foot, wouldn't this be a problem? But to leave it on the floor without smoothing it away with your foot would not be nice. Yeah, you shouldn't actually like mix the you know what I mean, the dust with the saliva, make a paste out of it. You just step on it with your foot. That's what they say to do.
Like you're walking.
Not
right?
to actually mix it.
Like you're walking, Rabbi, right?
Sorry?
Like you're walking, man.
Yeah, just step on it. With covering the blood on the chag, do you have to specifically and verbally ask permission of the shochet first to do the mitzvah? Technically, it's the mitzvah, it's his mitzvah, or is it assumed to be okay? And you can just say the bracha and take the sand from the box and do it. So, I mean, in general, covering the blood is a mitzvah belonging to the shochet, and you have to ask permission regardless of yontif or weekday. That's a general thing.
Which one?
Dalit. Shabbat under Dalit. Are we learning Hey, or are we going back to Shulchan Aruch? I'll tell you in a moment. Hey, we got to go to Hey. We're continuing with Hey. Yeah, I mean, you pay him to do the shechita, and then it's his mitzvah to cover the blood. V'shachat v'chisa. That's what the pasuk says. The shachat is not v'chiso b'offer. The one who shechts is the one who gets the cover. Another question later in the class: would sticking the knife in the barrel be okay by some opinions as long as you don't have the intention to widen the holes? The same as nowadays when you're walking back from shul at night on Shabbos on a sidewalk somewhere, and then one of the sensor floodlights in some guy's front doorstep goes off and shines light on their front lawn. So that's what we were just discussing before with Yoram. The answer is, if you know it's there, you definitely shouldn't walk there because it's a Psik Reisha. Maybe if there's no other choice, there's room to be matir, but not in the first place. On the other hand, if you didn't know and you just walked into it, that's totally not your intention. It's misasik, and it's no problem. But if you remember and you remember before you walk into it, it's better to walk around because we know what house has one of these lights, and so how can we get back from shul without sending it off? The senses seem to be getting more powerful, where even if you walk very far away from it, like in the middle of the street, it is still in fact motion from halfway across the street. Yes, I have seen that. Yeah, you don't have to not walk in the street because of that, right? But if you know for a fact that it's there, it's better not.
And let's say you walk and you think about halacha or something or anything, and then you find yourself where you're pressing that light. You don't pay attention for that, but you think about something else, and then
No, you don't have to. You don't have to worry.
Okay.
You don't have to worry. If you know for a fact that it's there, then you shouldn't walk. No, even pamshnia. Unless you know, you don't have to stop walking.
Sometimes I think about halacha or something, and then I'm walking, and then boom, it's light. But sometimes I remember, then I go, and
it's misasek, it's kalachayad, it's a Psik Reisha. I wouldn't say you have to. It's not a Psik Reisha if you don't know that it's there. It's a suffix Psik Reisha, maybe. And it's a slim maybe, you know what I mean? It's not 50-50. If you don't know that it's there, you don't have to worry about it. If you know for a fact, then it's better not. All right, because so we move right along with number Hey. Is there a fall here yet? No. I want to answer this question from last night, but let's do Hey first. Nation B'Shas Nekev Shabasias Nekev Sar B'Dav Talish and Beisin La'olim B'Shum Boyin Adam B'Shum Zeras Tikun Kli Yimasahu Pasan Lachem B'Sel Hoitzi Akshin Esa Pesach Klal Lelach Lelhoitzi L'Shnas Mela Yidei Hitzas Second Ein B'Isa Klal. Excuse me. Toku B'Chav Zedel B'Shar Kelam B'Gdam Shmastik Mar B'Mso Shish B'Miyostir I didn't get the full B'Kais. Okay, my friends, listen very carefully. One second, let me just translate. If you have a knife stuck into a bench, a table.
what's the reason?
Why? Because you needed to put your knife somewhere. You didn't want it to hurt anybody, so you stuck it into the bench. I don't know. This is the olden days. So when you take it out for the first time, you're going to be opening a wider hole in the bench. No problem. says the Alter Rebbe, based on Magen Avraham, I think it is. It's no problem because you're not making anything, nothing. It's not a Pesach because it's not opening. There's nothing on the other side. It's nothing to hang. You're not making something that you can hang something from, and it's on something disconnected from the ground. So even if it would be a Pesach, even if it would be something you could hang something from, it's not the Reisha anyway, because it's not useful, and it's not a Pesach that you can go in and out of. So therefore, there is no reason to be strict whatsoever. Again, it's not the intention. It would be the intention, maybe. Not the intention, no problem. Now, if this particular bench is so big that it fits the size of 40 saw, 3 amas by 1 by 1. Okay, so then it has a din of karka, and then we're strict. Even though min hadin, we said even that should be mutar because it's double derabanan, triple derabanan, and so on. Okay, but the minhag is to be strict. But if it's just a regular size bench, you're allowed to take it out, no problem. Question.
What is the cases that the knife is stuck in the wood? You have to go through the wood. Because something can be stuck in the wood, but it doesn't go to the other side. So basically, it doesn't go.
Doesn't have to go to the other side. In the case of the wall, it's not going to the other side.
Well, let's say the barrel or the pan.
The case of the barrel was that it was going to the other side, because that's why they stuck it in there. You wanted to be able to open it and take the wine out. So there it was. But in these last two cases, in the wall, it's not like that. This case also not like that. No. There's no other side. It just goes in a little bit and that's it.
So in the case that you have, let's say, table and the cover have no handles, before Shabbos you stuck a knife in the middle to be able to lift it up. So basically using it to lift it up. And something that got loose.
What got loose?
The knife got loose, the hole got loose, so even if you put it in, it doesn't lift the cover. Maybe high on the hole that you made.
I don't understand your question. You made the hole before Shabbos.
Yeah, but you said you know to take it out, if you can like put in and out before Shabbos. So basically it was in before Shabbos. And then basically said that you pull it out on Shabbos.
Yeah, but that wasn't your intention. And even if it was your intention to pull it out, we said before it's not aser min hadin by Kalim. If it's not going through, so it's not even aser shelimin. It's actually muta. That's what he just said here.
Not going through, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly. You're allowed to pull it out if you want to.
No, I said it doesn't matter if it goes through, it doesn't go.
No, if it goes through, then it's making a pesach maybe. Even then, it's muta min hadin, but machloikas, some say not to do it anyway. Sorry.
Amen.
All right. Moving right along. Siv Beis L'Mechaber. Hoya boy neka v'nista. Oh, sorry. This is to answer a false question from yesterday, or maybe it was somebody else's, I don't remember. What about a thumbtack in a corkboard? A tack you put into the bulletin boards. Bulletin boards, exactly. So, yeah, that's what I said, but I didn't want to give a ruling without my trusty 39 malachas. The 39 malachas says, if I made a point on the page, I don't know. All right, I thought I made a note on the page, but I'm not seeing it now. The Kitzur, the 39 Malacha says not to do it. He says, according to leading Psik, thank you, one is not permitted to stick pins into a wall or bulletin board, whether to hang notes or for any other purpose, because of questions involving Baina and other Shabbos restrictions. Tack an item to the board may be burned for the following reasons. The pin forms a hole in the cork backing of the board. You make a hole. When you stick it in, you're making a hole in the bulletin board.
If it doesn't go through, it's okay?
No, not okay. In 1035. The tack can also be used as an accessory that is being added to the structure. Moisif ala binyan. So you have the hole there, which is a functional hole because it has now you have the pin in the hole, and the pin itself can be considered moisif ala binyan. The truth is moisif ala binyan is only something that stays there for some time, which he says elsewhere is at least 7 days. So then it might depend on how long you're leaving it in there. But the hole is whole. He seems to be talking about a case where it is attached to the wall. That's what he seems to be talking about. Exactly. So that's what's called the minion, and that's why a hole in something attached to the wall is very strict. Maybe there's makam lahat there. Because he brings an argument that you might make to be makel, but he says, better not to rely on it. The argument to be makel is the hole doesn't last. You make the hole, but the minute you take out the push pin, take out the thumbtack, the hole is gone. So you're not really making a hole. And because it's made to use in that way, the argument can be made that it's called derech tashmisha, the way you use it, and not derech malacha, not the way from malacha. Just like we said about a Lego, that even if it's tight, the argument can be made that it's the way you use it, not an actual building. The kids are better to be strict and so on, but it is something to think about. And maybe you could be makel if it's not connected because of that. That's all. Sorry? It's in the 4th volume. The last volume, page 1035. Okay. No further ado, we read Seif Beis in the Mechaber, exactly. Hoya boy nekev v'nistam. Hoya boy nekev v'nistam. If it had a hole that was closed up, anachnu achshav b'mishnah bara shin yudalet sivbet. Mechaber. If the barrel had a hole and he closed up the hole, Here, my friends. Any hole that you stop up, if you stop it up in a very tight way, so that ceases to be considered a hole with a cover, and it simply becomes part of the barrel. And then to reopen that same hole becomes forbidden, because it's like you're making a new hole. If, however, it's not very tight, then, on the contrary, then it's kind of made to open and close. It becomes like a door, like a window, and there's no problem to open it and close it. And the way they define it here is l'mayla min hashmarm and l'mata min hashmarm. L'mata min hashmarm, I'm saying this is the difference. This is how they define it. The shmarm is on the bottom of the wine, the dregs. A hole that is that far down, so kol koived hayayin on the whole weight of the barrel is on it. So to close up such a hole, you really need to bang in something very tight. And because it's very tight, you're presumably not going to open it up so fast. That is not considered an opening anymore. It's considered like it's closed. It becomes part of the barrel, at least BeDerabanan.
If that piece of wood is like a screws, like close it and open it.
No, if it's made to open and close all the time, it's okay. We're going to learn about that. We'll learn about that. Like a faucet. Like a faucet. They used to have faucets in those days too. If it's a faucet, it's okay. But if it's not made to open and close all the time, presumably, if it's tight, you're leaving it there. So then it becomes also to open it. Whereas if it's if it's higher than that, because it's not, doesn't have to be so tight, so it's probably a looser connection, and therefore not something you're going to leave there for a long time, and therefore it's not forbidden to open it up again.
You cannot say about the whole time. There's some people that don't have they just take the piece of wood and they close it like close, but it's tight. But then you have to open it.
No, the ones that they did tight, they didn't take in and out.
No.
Because it was a big deal to do. Okay. I want to do the Mishnah, the Alter Rebbe right away. Vav. A barrel that had a hole that got closed up. Even if you only used your hands. Even if you only used your hands to push it in, or some other item. Oh, I see. Okay, I didn't understand the Chiddush. I didn't understand why he said BeDerabanan. Even though you use your hands. No, that's not what it means. That's what I thought. No, he's talking about a case when it's mutter. He's saying, even though Sasama BeDerabanan, even though you mamish did it with your own hands, not that it got covered up on its own by some kind of item that got stuck there. No. You mamish close it with your own hands. You did an action of closing it. Nevertheless, mutter l'pasel b'Shabbos, you could still open it again on Shabbos because that closure was only a temporary closure.
This is what I meant.
If it's not so tight. It means even though you did it with your own hands using a piece of wood, meaning say you took a piece of wood and you stuck it in, as opposed to just some kind of piece of wood got stuck there by accident, you know what I mean? And a secondary way. No, you actually close it up.
It's a special wood.
Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I had a special wood. It doesn't say here that it is. Maybe, yeah, maybe no. When do we say this? If it's above the dregs, but it's opposite the dregs. Also, the place cannot let open it. Unless it's something that is made to open and close constantly, like the barza, which is the faucet in the barrel. They used to have faucets. You stuck it in, and it had like a hole which you could close up with a piece of metal and open, close. That's okay. Since it is so far down, right? The weight of the wine is leaning on it. It has to be well closed. Therefore, when you want to open it up, it's like opening a new opening. Not so when it's above the shmarm. It does not have to be closed up very well. And it's not considered like a new opening. It's just reopening the same thing which is allowed. Yes.
If we allow to take a knife and stick it in the chavit, and then if we take it out before Shabbat.
Before Shabbos,
and then you put it back in, and then Shabbat you're allowed to take it out and in back and forth.
What's your question?
So the piece of wood, if you also before Shabbat you put it in or out,
it's okay.
Then Shabbat you can take it out also.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. As long as it's not on the bottom, because on the bottom it's very tight. But in the
right, it's the same thing.
No, in the bottom, in order for it to seal it, they would have to put it in very tight.
This piece of wood, it's like a pin. It's like a small and big, and then when you put it, and it's plugged in.
If it's made to open and close constantly, then it's allowed.
Okay.
But if it's not, then it's not allowed because the ones on the bottom they would put very tight, and therefore it was not considered temporary. That's a question of the quality of the wine. How much of the wine is dregs, and how much is not? I mean, I should know because it's a sugya in Bava Basra. Excuse me. How much dregs can there be in wine and it's not a mekach tos? There's a measurement for that. like all the different things, you know what I mean? How many stones can you mix into the grain and it's not a mistaken sale? So there is an amount, but I don't remember.
Oh, so, okay, so it could be that even if you have very pure wine and there's only dregs on the way bottom, you could be putting your spigot in like close.
No, I don't think so.
Halfway, and it might be like general.
No, I don't think so. I think it's an example of the bottom. Because just because you happen to have less dregs, the fact is if it's so far down that in another barrel it would be the shmarim, it would seem that that's already has the weight of the wine on it. The fact that there's no actual dregs. So I think that the dregs are just the average place of the dregs. I don't think it's your personal dregs. Again, that doesn't mean you have to measure out averages. You can assume yours is average. But if you know for a fact that it's not, then you should go by the average. That would seem to be the trend. Okay. Some say oh, sorry. Back to the Machaber Gimel. Sorry that I'm skipping back and forth. The Makam Nekev Yashin Nekun Afilim Mekadeach B'Makdeach Sar Pirish Kliya Miyuchad Limkaiv Going Shenishbra HaBarza Yeshem L'Sholim Kev Nekev Yashin Abuchav Shal Cheres Shan Abstimum Hudekas Yafa Abuchav Shal Eitz Mahad Kem Ba'oida Is Sheseis M'Ba Nekev V'choit Chem Rosh Shal Adash L'Etzioi Vadai Nira Shezen Nekev Chadash V'Asu. Okay. So here's the thing. If you're allowed to reopen the opening, you're even allowed to use a drill.
On Shabbat.
On Shabbat. Not an electric drill, old style drills.
With the hand, like this?
Exactly.
Really? It's not melacha, Rabbi?
No.
Wow, it's chiddush.
Chiddush. Time to learn a chiddush. The chiddush is that a kli shemalach le'isr can be used for permissible use on Shabbos. That's simple.
Like a cork for the morning.
Yeah, but a cork is not malach le'isr because the only function of a corkscrew is to open corks, which is allowed. But even a drill, which is normally used to drill holes, which is not allowed. But when you're reopening the hole that was already open, and now it's not tight, and now it's not so tight, so you're allowed to reopen it. So it's a permissible action. You can use a klisha malach le'isr for a permissible action. Just like you can use a hammer to open nuts. You have nuts. You can't find a nutcracker. You can take a hammer and use it. You have a coconut. You want to open up the coconut to get to the juice. You can use a hammer with a clean nail or whatever it is. It's a chiddush. People don't know that. They think, oh, hammer, scissors. For example, we were talking about before, the plastic. You know what I'm saying? The plastic covers things out. You can take a pair of scissors and open it with the scissors.
Oh, so you can put it in the middle. So
Yeah. In fact,
Chiddush.
from my personal experience, it's better to use scissors because for opening plastic covers.
You will
It's
have,
a kitchen scissors.
No, regular scissors.
what's the difference?
Regular
This
scissors.
is what is defined, I think, to be like a scissors that you think the kitchen for.
Nope.
Specific.
Regular scissors. Now, if you have a kitchen scissors, it's better.
This is why I think
No, I don't agree.
That's not a cliche malach le'isr.
I don't agree.
That's not a cliche malach le'isr because you use it for like food. The regular scissors
it's
are
a specific kitchen scissors.
right.
Yeah. The kitchen scissors are not klisha malach le'isr. That's not muktzah at all. But the regular scissors are muktzah. But you're allowed to use muktzah l'tzorech gufay for its use, for permissible use. You're allowed to use it. I was just saying, in general, using scissors is a good thing when it comes to opening these packages because oftentimes they have lettering. And if you're not using scissors, it's very difficult to cut it just so it should not open the letter. If you're using scissors, you can mamish do it, in between the letters. My opinion. Anyway,
Is that chumrah or is that really
is what a chumrah.
like if you're destroying the package anyway, You
Don't
don't
let-
have to be worried about,
Don't touch the letter.
Why not? Why not?
it's really the din.
No, it's a
No,
milim.
it's just, like a point. And with the Tefuri cutie thing, you know, it's impossible to not get the letter.
The letters we have to be careful, right?
Yeah, that's why.
I mean, when a person who rips the letters is doing machika, shaloi almanas lichtov, right? So it's only BeDerabanan. But what's the heter? Can't do a BeDerabanan to get the food. Now I know there are mekilim. I am not ignoring the fact that there are mekilim, and Bavadia Yosef is amongst them. He says that you're allowed to rip letters to get the food, but it's not the pashtus of the Alter Rebbe.
The concept by eating crackers with writing on it.
Alter Rebbe is strict about that.
Yeah, I know.
Really?
That's how you kill it.
There are mekilim, but the Mishnah Berurah is also mekel on that. But in some cases, in some ways, Alter Rebbe is strict about that.
Actually, then in
Yes, mentioned in the Hilchos Pesach, correct.
Isn't there also Mechika with like with a puzzle with the design up with the picture on it? Taking it apart.
Yeah.
So wouldn't the same, if you're saying the food with letters on it is Mechika, then wouldn't like, I don't know, any kind of cereal that's in any kind of shape whatsoever would be Mechika?
shit. Right.
Chazon Ish says that if a entire food item has a shape, that's not machika. If there's a shape on the food item, it might be machika. But if the food item has a shape, it's not machika because every food item has a shape. You know what I mean? Challah is also a shape. You know what I mean? That's just the way. That's considered the way to eat.
You think that's not only on writing?
Designs can also be machika, just like it can be ksiva. If you make a painting at Shabbos, that's ksiva. Okay. The Kitzer, we continue and we say, in instances, did I say Zion in the Alter Rebbe yet? I don't think so. I did?
No.
In instances where it is permitted to open an existing hole that was sealed, it is permitted to pierce a new hole in the existing hole seal, even with a drill. The Alter Rebbe is referring to a hand-operated tool, not the drills used today.
So the chemist elected the bottom.
No electric drill. For example, if the bung of a barrel is broken and one cannot remove it, he is permitted to pierce a hole in the bung with a drill. Needless to say, one may take another bung to bang on the bung that is stuck in the barrel if one needs to drink wine on Shabbos. The bung is some kind of faucet that they used to have in the olden days. You can knock it in. If it's not opening, you can push it in with another one that will replace it, and that's okay. But provided the bung is not stored on the same level as the wine dregs, in which case you're not allowed to push it in because you're reopening something that was properly closed. Yesh oimim continuing the Alter Rebbe shleitu luftech nekev yashin ela b'chavish shel cheres shenasimu nekes nafi yafa b'nekev al b'chavish shel eish b'hatken ba'oid ha'eish esses b'may nekev choyt chino yoshe al das shaloi lo hitzia v'ada nir shezer nekev chadish v'aser yishol kol azel yish lismach al devreim makom tzeh gadol hakol b'li b'sefer. Okay, so they used to be able to close holes in wooden barrels very tight. What would they do? They would take, like, let's say, a branch that starts thinner and gets thicker, and they would, like, stick it in, bang it in until it's tight, and then they would cut off whatever's sticking out. So it would become, like, level with the rest of the barrel. And that was a very tight closure. They could not do that if it was an earthenware barrel, because it'll basically crack the barrel if you put it in too tight. So some say that which it says you can remove the closed up holes on the top part of the barrel, that's only if it's not a wooden barrel. If it's a earthenware barrel, so the holes on the top are not so tight. But if it's a wooden barrel, then even the holes on the top are tight and you can't do it. Kids are better to be strict. I'm not getting into any more details because we don't have wooden barrels and earthenware barrels, and that's it. But that's
We
what
have
it
a
is.
regular barrel for glass.
We don't make holes in them, and if we do, we throw them out.
Like the winemakers have those barrels.
That's true. The winemakers have the barrels. We're going to move right along, and we're going to discuss more about barrels. But this next discussion has relevance for us also. Hey, back to the Mechaber. Mutter litin konach. Yeah, hey in the Mechaber. Back in the Mechaber. Mutter litin konachol b'chalas abarz lo hitziyayin afapisha lo hey by me'olam. Avalitin ola shel haras b'nekrish b'chalas shel ola asu kemarze v'yen zav derech sham. Loy, the gazelle shlei sak and marzel the shipel hayayin the soch v'yelach lemerachik. The kishlei keach. Ola makap like in marzel near koisa marzel. They don't braz the konashin oisa boy shum marzel. הגביש מתם אפילו בעל של הרס, במקום שיש לה הרבה כתומים, ואין לך שם יקטום. All right, so you have this hole in your barrel. You can't just open the hole and get the wine out, because the wine is it's just gonna go down the side of the barrel. And you're gonna have to what? Collect it from the side? I mean, it's gonna be a mess. What you want to do is you want to attach a little pipe, open the hole, and then stick in a little pipe that like a spigot, so it'll run down the spigot and into your cup. So, very simple, the Mechaber says. If you have the pipe already prepared before, you could stick it in on Shabbos. You're not keeping it there. It's not binyan. It's just a temporary thing you're sticking in. That's fine. However, you're not allowed to put in a leaf. Use an example of a hadas leaf. Could be any leaf that you might roll it up and stick it in there, forming a kind of tube, and it'll roll down that tube. Why not? Because when you do that, that's like you're actually making a new tube. Now, what's the big deal of making a new tube? I mean, it's a leaf. You're going to throw it out. It's nothing. No. Once you make a new tube with the leaf, that like a funnel, exactly, that might cause you to say, the leaf is not working so well. Maybe I'm going to take a wooden thing and I'm going to measure it and put it in. You know what I mean? When you have a wooden pipe or a tube already made, all you're doing is putting it in. We're not going to decree that because you put it in, you're gonna make one. You understand? Like many things, you can use kalim. We're not concerned you're going to make a keli, but when it comes to wrapping up that leaf and forming it into like a little tube, because you're forming that tube, we're afraid you might form another tube. So that you can't do.
You're allowed to remove that straw and put the close it so it will not continue to.
Yeah, for sure. He doesn't discuss closing it tight or not, but I assume just like you can't open a tight closure, you also can't close it tight, right? Because that's like you're building
You have
it.
to close it tight enough so then I'm leaking.
I understand, but if it's on the bottom, then you have to close it tight. On the top, it's not so much wine, you can close a regular closure.
So you make a hole each time you're going down? To tie it?
Yeah, you make a hole, you close it up, and then you make another hole.
Or you tip the barrel.
Or you could tip the barrel. You could tip the barrel.
Oh.
Yeah, you could tip it.
Damage the bottom of it. Will get damaged, no?
Yeah. But I don't know if they kept them.
$700.
I don't know if they kept them. Did they keep them from time to time? Maybe. I don't know. Expensive, yeah. So they made holes and they closed up the holes and they use it again. I don't know.
It's very easy to close it.
So v'yesh matim afilu ba'ala shel hadas b'makom sheish lehar b'ketumim ein lacho shem b'yiktim. Some say that the issue is that you might break off a leaf in order to make it. And therefore, if you already have a few leaves ready, then it's okay. Because even if this one doesn't fit, you'll just take another one to replace it. Over to the Alter Rebbe, Mutter litin kanachal, Oishar barza, b'chavas loitzi b'hen yayin, Ava pishle ba'olam, shleim ba'olam b'chavazeh, ben yadeh klalim yavo, you, the midas ha-mekar shel chavazeh, and choshen shemalei yavo, the midasi b'yach, tachem v'yigarden b'sakin, so v'sovat shiva, the midasi v'schamish b'chadach, k'mosh yizbor. It is permitted to place a hollow reed or a hollowed out bung in a barrel to have its wine flow out through them, even though this reed or bung was never used for this barrel. And the person does not know at all if it will properly fit the size of this hole. There is no concern that should the reed or bung not fit the size of the hole, he will cut them or scrape them around with a knife until they fit the size of the hole, and he will thus become liable for cutting, as will be explained. Cutting, which in Hebrew is mechatech, by the way, is cutting in a measured way. We were saying before, the Alter doesn't hold that kareya applies if you cut a thing that's made of one piece. It's only when you cut, when you separate things that are connected. So here, it's not kareya, but when you have something that you have to fit in and you cut it down to size, that's machatach. But he says, we're not concerned that you're going to be machatach. Since you didn't start to do anything like that, we're not concerned you're going to do it. You take it, you put it in, it fits, it fits, it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. You're not doing any action to alter its shape. However, I will also lead in all the shalhadas benekah shebachavas kadesh leyayin choices al daf neachavas. Ali mekalech Allah mekubel v'asu kein marziv. Zeh shemisak and marziv liena sheyipal yayin l'sochav yelachim merachayik. It is, however, forbidden to place a folded myrtle leaf in a hole of the barrel so that the wine will not flow down the side of the barrel, but rather flow over the folded leaf, which he shaped to serve as a spout. This is a decree lest one affix an actual spout for his wine, so that the wine will flow through it and flow for a distance. Who came in a sense, the fika chen goes in Shamayawa lasses Maisa the second Mars of Yene, Ashen Gabala shows a Maisa Begufay, Shuleka Machaplay came Marsev, came Shanerka in Marsev, goes away Shamayawa the second Mars of Gamma Yene. The reason the similar decree was not as true with regard to placing a hollow reed in a barrel is that when placing the reed, the person does not perform an act that changes the reed itself. He merely inserts it into the barrel. Therefore, the decree was not assist to less one from a deed to affix a spot for his wine. Because he's not doing a deed, he's not working with that pipe at all. He's just sticking it in. By contrast, with regard to the leaf, he performs an action with the leaf itself. He takes it and folds it like a spout. So he's actually forming the spout for the first time. Since it appears like making a spout, our sages issued a prohibitive decree concerning this, lest he affix an actual spout for his wine. Yes, I remember moving right along. Shagam ba'ala loy asur mishum zeres marziv, ela mishum zeres shem miskalkal ala zev yiktim ala achem and anaf, atolish litnim neg vachavis, tim zu asur mishum tikukli. Shekol dem shem miskalkal b'shabbos shiroy l'shtam shmei zitashmi shmei mishum tikukli, k'mosh zvar v'seven shem men. Faf malahu rach v'roy l'machal behema, f'apikein yeshisa b'timasim mishum tikukli, shlei amru oichlei behema ein mishum tikukli ha'en raken v'en miskayim, k'mosh zvar v'seven shem beis, Elekrim Sakan Oichel is Klib Fnei Atzmik, and we should quote them Kash Las by Shinov. Shnachim San Klib, Fish and Dercha Oichel Klalas, and Klib Lasai. Keep Shem Skam Harbi of Derchel is Sakan by Kli Asu Kvar. Can go and Litan Ola Manaka, Shivachavis as you Kralifi, Shem Lakach, Yesh Victim as Shem technically. I'm reading for too long, I have to translate. There are other authorities who maintain that the decree forbidding the use of a leaf was not instituted because perhaps one would affix a spout, but rather because of a decree that perhaps this leaf would become spoiled and the person would snap another leaf from a branch that would cut off from a tree to place it in the hole of the barrel. Snapping off this leaf is forbidden because one is preparing a cleat. For whenever one prepares an object on Shabbos, making it fit to be used for any function, it is considered as preparing a cleat. Hence, that will be explained in section 340. Okay. We know there's an isser to cut something that's connected to the ground. Everybody knows that, right? Toilish. Koitzer, if you do use a keli. Toilish, if you do it with your hands. Right? So you can. Exactly. It's connected to the ground. If it's not connected to the ground, on the other hand. Sorry? Koitzes is connected to a living thing. Like hair, nails.
Sheep.
Yeah, doesn't apply to things connected to the ground. Separate malach. Why don't we say both for both? Whatever. One applies to things growing from the ground, one applies to things growing from animals. Anyway, so on the other hand, once something is disconnected from the ground, be'etzem, there is no issue with breaking it apart. I'm saying you have a bunch of grapes, went to the store, you bought a bunch of grapes, comes Shabbos, you want to eat grapes, no problem. You wash them and you pick them off the thing. You didn't do anything. I mean, what did you do? There's no malacha involved. Okay. However, says Alter Rebbe, if you take something off a larger thing in order to create a functional keli, that's a problem. So let's take a very simple example. You have a table. Not our tables, we have fancy tables. You have an old table made of, butcher block wood. And you just take a little sliver off that table to make a little toothpick for yourself. That's a BeDerabanan. Because you've created a kli. You've taken a little piece of wood. It's all just a piece of wood, big deal. But you've taken a piece of wood and you've created a functional keli.
You create tools.
That's a tool. Even though it's a very simple tool, it's a tool. And that is an Isser BeDerabanan.
Why is it created? It was there in the beginning.
No, it was not a kli. It was part of the table. It wasn't a separate
Well,
kli.
you remove from the table.
I'm talking about that. I'm talking
It's
about
a sprinkler.
you splinter, you took it off.
Yeah.
Okay, now the thing is, we're going to see later that you're allowed to do that if it's something that's fit for animal food. Let's say you have some kind of tevin, exactly. Some kind of tevin that's fit to give to your animals. Some kind of growing thing, some kind of herb that happens to have, short, thin things. You're allowed to break one off and use it as a toothpick. Why? Because that's not a keli, that's ma'achal behema, that's food. You're using food as a keli. Yeah, big deal.
So, your Rabbi, if you eat chicken and you have a bone over there, you can take the bone and clean it also?
I think so, yeah. Is a bone food, actually? Is another question.
You can have bone sometimes.
Is a bone food? We had machlekes about that.
You know,
about
the chamin, Rabbi, the bone for the chicken, when you overcook, it's so soft, it's delicious.
Yeah, but that bone is not going to be good for a toothpick.
Not that one.
But also the food that you were going to use, the animal, it's not a food for human being.
I know, but it's food. So of course, it's
food for something for a dog.
You give the dog.
You can't give dogs chicken bones.
But he will eat it.
No, it's dangerous if he eats it because it's too sharp. Chicken bones are too sharp for dogs.
Yeah,
you can give them the meat bones, but not the chicken bones. I'm a big expert in dogs,
Yes.
Anyway, the kitzer, the story goes that the Alter Rebbe says that's because you are making a complete keli out of the ma'achal behema itself. That's not considered a significant keli, because the whole keli is just that piece, which is really ma'achal behema. It's really dog food. That's not important. But if you have a complete keli already, and you're just adding to it with something that's fit for food, that could be a tikkun keli, because you are adding to a significant keli, and even though it's only a small addition, it's like a makam patish. It's like you're completing that keli with something new, even though that new thing itself is not so important. But when it's added to something important, it becomes important. It's interesting because you could argue the other way. To make mamash a keli for itself, that's important. If you're only adding it, not so important. But here the opposite, he's saying. If it's ma'achal behema and you're creating something out of it, we don't look at it like a keli. We look at it as ma'achal behema. But when you're adding it to something important, that's not food, even though it's food, but because it becomes part of something that's long-lasting, it's considered a keli. So therefore, bottom line is, that's the issue.
Right.
According to this opinion, that's the issue. Yeah, go ahead.
הוא אומר, מרוקאים אוכלים את צמוש.
No. If it's food, it's allowed. If it's not, not. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not giving you a psak. Lefi zvar zu. I mean, you can use it as a toothpick. The question is, can you break it to make a toothpick? If it's already the right size, why not?
Yes, right side.
It's the right size, why not? Can you break it open to make it into one zani leather?
Can find some right size.
Okay. Well, the feast for Azu Shein Isser. Benesinis Allah Benekesh Bachavas Elam Shum Shema Yiktan. La Yasmak Mishish Lahaba Alim Ketum Vayim. Shazen Lacha Shema Yiktan. Sham Iskalka Echad Ishnaim or Yesh Le'oid and Yechayshim Shema Iskalka Lukul. According to this understanding, let me just finish. According to this understanding, that the prohibition against placing a leaf in a hole in a barrel is a safeguard lest one snap off a leaf from a cut branch. This prohibition does not apply in an instance where one has many leaves that were snapped off while it was still day on Friday. For in such an instance, there is no concern of a snap off additional leaves, since even if one or two of the leaves become ruined, he still has many others. There is no concern that all the leaves will become ruined. With regard to the actual halachic ruling, since Mila rabbinic violation prohibition is involved, one may follow the lenient view.
Without to have a, the flats with the rope like this, and the other side it's like a sharp for the green.
Yeah. Why not? Oh, you mean because you may cause your lips to bleed, your gums to bleed?
Okay, if it's you cause the bleed, it's not good.
Yeah, if you don't floss often, that's a problem. But if you floss often and you generally don't bleed, it's okay. Just be careful not to do it too harshly. Yeah, you can't cut dental floss, because if you cut it, you're creating a useful item. But if it's pre-cut, or if you have those little pieces,
the plastic.
yes, that's good. That's good. Perfect. Okay, we're talking about Korea before. This is the source of the Alter Rebbe's Shita about Korea, my friends. Coming up right now. Yud Beis Korea Adam Or Shal Pnei Achaves Shal Yain Or Shar Mashke Shal Tzach Hashem Zein HaChoshesh Mishum Shepsikas Talosh Mutter Lachatchila K'moi She'yis Ba'er U'Bavash Le'Iskav Anas Kein Marziv Marakurum Neshum Mesak and Keli. A person may cut open a covering made from an animal hide that was placed over a barrel of wine or other beverage for the sake of use on Shabbos. He need not worry that he's committing a transgression. The rationale is that cutting, listen carefully, my friends, don't forget this, cutting a detached entity is permitted even as an initial and preferred option, as will be explained. Alter Rebbe holds. Based on this, by the way, this is a Tosefta. Alter Rebbe's Psik is based on this Tosefta. Cutting a piece of leather is not korea, because it's one big, fat, smooth piece. Korea is only like cutting, for example, sewn material, right? Textiles, which is made of many threads woven together. Ripping that is korea, right? But ripping one piece, one uniform piece like plastic, according to Alter Rebbe, is no problem at all, unless you're doing it in a measured way, or you're creating a keli, something like that. But just for the act of cutting itself, it's okay. Now the Mishnah Berurah disagrees with this psak, and we'll get to his opinion later when we get to it, but nevertheless, that's how there was psak. However, this is granted provided one does not intend to fashion something akin to a spout from the cut hide, because doing so would be like fashioning a keli. If you open it in such a way that you form a little spigot, like a little thing to help you pour, then it's already a tikkun kli. But just cutting it is okay. Why? Because it's not like a tight closing. It's like you put it on. I don't know what's holding it in place, but it's not considered like a closed thing. So you're just ripping something disconnected from the ground, not in a measured way, not making a keli, not making a new opening, no problem. Very big and important klal. Okay. Yud Gimel, Yud Dalet, Tesvav are all connected and they're quite long. But nevertheless, we are not going to waste 7 minutes of your life. We are going to continue.
Yod?
In the Machaber, it is Vav.
In the end, they read the Gimel. It's only if you're doing it in the Chavit, love as that you're allowed to. But in the end, it says like on the Chavit is that.
I didn't learn Yud Gimel yet.
That's better, no?
I just read Yud Beis. Here's Vav in the Machaber. Mutter lahat is Reisha Shabbos b'Sayif to allow the Pesach Machaber and Kivin Shemeis Reisha. Awal anekva b'tzida bein shel Shabbos bein shel Magufa Asar filu b'rema shus anekva godol bein adem lePesach. Chem lav b'tzida vada lePesach Machaber. Aligiv haMagufa l'mayla mutter to allow the Pesach Machaber chin derech lasis Pesach l'mayla elanayt l'kol Magufa. I'm going to read Yud Gimel and the Alter Rebbe. Honestly, these next 3 sifim are all about slicing open barrels. We don't have barrels. We don't slice them open. So I'm going to read it quickly and we'll do it. Maybe Adam Chavis shall yain lifnei arachim amatas Reisha. Perish Reisha Chavis. Ubemakam hamagufa shezeh makam hagavoya shebakshim munachas. Shesav lemakam zeh mekol tzarhu mashapas v'yeredes. B'sayif lamat magufa sadan shachutach sfas pia sav magufa shalpia. V'af shal yedei kain. Nasa Pesach Chodesh l'Chavis ein b'kach klum neisha b'vane ein kamanosik d'lasses Pesach Chodesh ein derech klal lasses but kain lahat is Reisha Chavis b'shvil asiyas Pesach. Should be ella ein yafel machaber. Larsen do is live with their orchem shemachal l'makam moitza yayin ush Chavis shura agvuk b'zefes v'gam en machzek z'bar so shein ba mishum stirk men shbar l'mayla. Aval as las nekel b'guf haChavis afilu b'rem ha'sheis nekel b'gadol shein adem l'Pesach kol makam ha'korch l'chum miskam l'Pesach dan shem b'nei shein no Chavis l'teach ha'maguf ha'toder. As the Pesach Gam also Lahoitzi Shestruch Cham, Nemskab Alain Yafa, Hoy Leiltech Magufa. Der Shom Mechin Lahoitzi Yain Yosef Brevach Mederach Hanek also. Okay, listen carefully, my friends. Sorry? The whole top. Doesn't have to be an angle. Listen carefully, my friends. So they had this barrel, and the top of it was open, and they would put on a special plug to close that opening. You're allowed to slice off the top of the barrel together with that plug. Slice the whole thing off. Why? Because you're obviously not trying to make a Pesach. You're not trying to make a Pesach, to make an opening. You are basically destroying the barrel. I mean, you can, but it becomes much more difficult to reuse it. Obviously, you're doing that to show your guests, listen here, I'm breaking the barrel open. I want you to drink it up. I'm not saving it. Enjoy, party. If I bring all night, you're not doing it to make a Pesach. On the other hand, if you want to make a Pesach on the side, you don't want to open the whole top, then it's a problem, even if you make that opening with a roimach, with a spear, instead of a knife, which might make a small opening. You make it with a spear, which is making a large opening. It's still an opening. You're not destroying it completely. You're still making an opening. And we said before, you cannot make an opening, even if it's just to take out on Shabbos, because it may lead to making an opening that goes in and out. So, the Alter Rebbe, however, qualifies this. This that we say you're allowed to slice off the top is only if it's a chera, if it's a chavis shal cheres devuka bezefas. If it's a inferior kind of barrel that was already broken, and you put it back together, because if it's a proper barrel, to break it is stira b'kelim, right? Just like creating a strong barrel is binyan. So to destroy a strong barrel is stira. So you would not be allowed to do it. But if it's a weak kind of barrel, and you're just doing an act of destruction, you're not doing an act of making a opening, that's okay. Sorry? Regular barrel is going to be usher, and even a magufa, even a mustaki, even the weak barrels, if it's tall enough, if it's the size, like we said before, to hold 40 saw 3 by 1 by 1, then it's more strict. It's like already machub karka. You couldn't destroy it anyway. I know. But what should I do? Somebody want to ask a file?
שכן, השכן.
שכן זה אחד. הבן שלו בן 4.
רפאל, אפשר רפאל.
בבקשה.
מי לא התפלל? אברהם, יצחק.
You davened? You davened. I didn't. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5. Shmuel be davened? Rabbeinu Shmuel.
שמואל, סטנלי, did you daven?
You daven Meir? Daven. Somebody want to text their file? See if he didn't daven yet. He davened already. Chanan did also. Whenever he comes here, he just sits there. He doesn't daven. No, my friend. No, but he's number 5. No, he's 5. He's 5. He davened already. 5.
חשבתי שאתה לא מתפלל, מחכה לנו.
All right. We have 1 more minute. Baruch Hashem. Let's go right ahead. Yudalet. אבל מותר לעשות נקב במגופה מלמעלה להוציא ביין. אב מחובס ושלמה. וכי שאין דרך כלל לעשות פסח מגופה למעלה, אלא נויט לכל המגופה. לפי כך נקב זה שלמעלה הם נהיה נחשב כפסח כלל. לכן לא יאסרו במגופה. לאף היסו בנקב גם על הארץ להוציא ביין, אינכם מנתר כמו היסו בחובס עצמו. יש מגופה אין חשוב לחיבור לחובס, ואף כשהיא נסונה על פיה, אלא הוא דבר בפני עצמו, לכן אין הנקב שבו קורא אסור לארץ להוציא בוי. לפי שכשמוציא מחלץ בדרך, okay, this is getting complicated. We're going to stop right here, continue next week. I wanted to go through quickly because we don't really have barrels. But the truth is that some of these details are going to be helpful when we try to come to a conclusion, like opening soda cans and barrels and other containers that we have nowadays. So we will continue with Hashem about it next week. My pleasure.
Thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure. All the best.
Bye.